Hey everybody, and welcome back to another check-in. That's right, we are 36 hours into this week's fast. Can you believe that? Yeah, 36 hours. And you're doing it. You've committed, you've shown up, and that, my friend, is what matters. And so we're going to be talking about fasting, 36 hours, right? 33 hours right now, how we are moving through the space. We're going to talk to our community. We've got some monitors that we'll take a look at here in just a minute so we can see what's been going on with our blood sugars. We're going to talk about how we install this new version of ourselves that we've been building. You know, in our show earlier this week, we introduced the concept of the accelerator. That is the thing that is the container, if you will, that pushes us and helps us in all of our spaces so that we can continue to upgrade ourselves into this new version that we have created. So I've got my monitors off to the side that we're going to take a look at. Let's go ahead and let's pop that up. So I've got my monitors here. Right below me, I've got my Dexcom Clarity Report, which we'll take a look at and talk about all the things that have been going on in our community. If you were with us earlier today, you saw our check-in. If you were with us yesterday, you saw us kind of walk through the process of eating our last meal and then starting into our fast. And so now 33 hours into this week's fast, feeling pretty good. So we'll do a check-in in a minute so you can hear and understand what's been going on with me. And for those of you who ended your fast today, congratulations. Here's a hand clap to you. But for those of you who are new to me, I'm Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. Here I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level, and create the life we've always wanted. And we are living limitless lives. And if I didn't say it, the E stands for endocrinology. That's right. So we got endocrinology, we got education, empowerment, and we've got encouragement. And all those are places that we want to be. Let me just point out a couple of things to you. If you are new to the channel, let me go ahead and pull this up. On the channel, you will see two playlists right now. One is called Start Here, and that's the title of it, the beginning of it, Start Here. But let me go ahead and pop this up. It's the Limitless Living Starter Guide. So if you're new to the channel, if you are thinking, okay, where do I start? What I do? How do I get into what they've been talking about? This is where you start, right? There are videos in there that are excerpts from the things that we've been doing, but they serve as a guide to walk you through the process that we've been going through. Okay, so starting with how to change our minds, starting with the Limitless Living Health Action Plan, the Limitless Living Inventory, and walking through all the things, all the phases that we've been walking through right now. So that's the Limitless Living Starter Guide. Also in the description of the starter guide, right, in the description of that playlist, there is a document that you could download, and it is the starter guide PDF that tells you what is in each of those, the things that we're talking about there. It walks through the process. It gives you the name of the videos, what order you should follow them in, and it really does serve as a way of getting you into the process. Okay, that's the first thing. The other thing that you will see when you go to the channel is on that main page, right below Starter Guide, you'll see another playlist, and the playlist is entitled Videos from This Week, right? Is essentially what it is. And that is, if you are coming to the channel, you're like, man, they've been talking about all this stuff, but what are they doing right now? Like this week, what are they doing? What are they talking about? What's been going on? And you'll see that they're in that playlist. That playlist will update every week as we go through the different shows for the week. They will show up in that playlist. So if you're ever coming to the channel and you're like, okay, what, I know we're fasting, I know we're doing this, I know we're doing this other thing, but what are they doing like right now this week? That is where you will find those videos. And that is, I have a good friend who called me up actually last week, and I was on my way, as you guys know, I was on my way out to St. Louis for a conference. Give me a second. Let me do one more thing here real quick. All right, there we are. So a good friend of mine who called me up this week, and he said, "Hey man, let me talk to you for a minute." And so we started talking, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he said, one of the things that I love is that you have lots of videos and you've got lots of good information. But like if somebody's coming new to the channel, where do they start? And so I started thinking about that, and he made such a good point. And we were about to talk about the accelerator program, right? Which I talked about last week. And I said, that's a great point, because when people show up, we've been talking about structure, we've been talking about planning, we've been talking about all this stuff. But if there's so much information, sometimes you can get lost in the weeds. And so the whole idea here is to help you begin walking through the process of what do we do when we show up, and that's the benefit of those two. So shout out to, I'm going to say, Stacy and Rob, by the way, there was two of them. Thank you guys for that timely information and suggestion. So for all of the rest of you who are out there, if you have suggestions, if you have ideas on how to make the community better, because you're going to have people that you're going to recommend the channel to. You're going to have folks that you want to say, hey, let's, go do this thing. And as I've told you before, we'll talk about this at the end, to make sure that you are involving and improving your community. So when you point people here, right, I want the process to be as simple as possible for them to begin walking through what we are doing. Okay? All right. So with that said, let's talk about a couple of other things. And let me do this real quick. So I'm going to the channel so you can see what it looks like. And here it is. Let me pop back over here. Okay, so this is when you show up on the channel, right? If you're on your computer, this is what it would look like. Okay, so you're up on the channel. This is what it would look like. That's me up there. Look at that guy right there. You'll see what the show is that's going on right now. And then you'll see two playlists. One is called Start Here, Reverse Diabetes, and Reclaim Your Health with Dr. Woode. Now, I probably should change that, because sometimes when people see that, they'll think it's all about diabetes, but it is really everything that we've been talking about. And we've been talking about metabolism. So if you have a better name for that, go ahead and send me the name. And then down below is the second playlist, this week's videos on Limitless Living with Dr. Woode. Okay, so these are the videos that we've done so far this week. There's the flagship show that we did on Monday. Here's our 100-day fasting that we did on Monday. Here's the pop-up where we started our fast. And you see there, as you look through, you'll see what I ate as my last meal. And this is the show that we did today when we did our pop-up to do a check-in, and that was at 24 hours. Okay, so this show that we're doing right now will show up next in the list. So if you ever want to say, hey, what is the show that we're doing? It'll show up here. And then, of course, from tomorrow night, and then, of course, from Friday, right? So all of that will show up in that space for you. If you are going to, if you're watching this on your, and I'm trying to, let's see, how do I do that? If you're watching this on your phone, yeah, if you're watching this on your phone, give me a second. It looks a little different, but the concept is the same, okay? And I can't get it to come up the way I want it right now. But if you're on your phone and you're watching, if you're coming to the channel, it will show up in a similar way so that you will see the things that are on. Okay, here we go. Let's pull over here. Let's go over here. And there it is. Okay, so that's the show that's going on right now. And here is the Start Here playlist that you'll see, and it'll go through all the videos that are there, and it only shows you a number right here. You can go into the playlist and pull up the rest, and then below that, this week's videos, right? This week's videos on Limitless Living with Dr. Woode. Make sense? Awesome. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that we go through that process. The other thing that I want to talk about just briefly as we get into the rest of the show is the fact that there are lots of things that are going on the channel, and lots of things that are going on in the community. So we're walking through the process. Start here, right? Make sure you get there. The shows for the week are in that playlist videos for this week. But if you go to the channel is really designed to give you a space for the plan, the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. The things that we're doing in the Health Action Plan this channel is designed to help you walk through that process. Like right now, we're doing our strength, strategy, and mindset. Right? That is the new, well, not new, that is part of the series that we're going through right now on in our MOVE campaign. That's metabolic optimization via exercise. So if you've not been there, this is an opportunity for you to get connected, for you to begin walking along with us as we are moving, as we're walking through the process of exercising. And right now we're concentrating on strength training, right? So you see me, if you come on the channel, you see me lifting some weights. I've got some dumbbells that we're doing. What you saw me doing a minute ago was some pelvic tilts. I've got the seated knee extensions that I'm working on. Here I am doing some dumbbells, right? Some dumbbell presses. We've got the squats that we're working on, okay? And so this is designed to help you as you are moving through the process. So we're doing that right now. We've got the check-ins that you see us doing. We've got the 100-day walk to consistency that we did and is ongoing right now. So all of those are parts of the Limitless Living Health Action Plan. So it is designed for you to see us in action. That's why it's called the Action Plan, Health Action Plan. It's not a health viewing plan. It's not a health thinking plan. It's a health action plan. So I want to make sure that you are getting involved with all the things that we are doing. Okay? All right. So now let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars and see what's been going on. And if you saw, I posted a short or reel just maybe an hour or a couple of hours ago, because, you know, we come on the show and we do the, we go through the stuff, but people want to know, I mean, they just want to say, okay, what's going on with blood sugars? And what I titled it was, what did I title it? I titled it, I'm thinking, The Power of Fasting. I had to think about that for a minute. I titled it The Power of Fasting. And in The Power of Fasting, what I did was I simply got on my phone. I got on my phone and I recorded my my trek through, and let me just show that to you. I recorded my trek through my meter, my CGM. So I showed what that looks like. You know, looking at the 14 days, 30 days, 90 days, and so forth. And so we're going to go through that here right now, but I want you to kind of pay attention. So, because sometimes I'll just pop something up randomly that to keep you in the thought process of limitless living, okay? So that you can see what's going on. Now, I got to give another shout out. To someone who has really been instrumental in helping me with the process of what we do. And when I say the process, how to think about my story and how my story can begin encouraging other people, right? So shout out real quickly to Kirk. If you've not been over to his channel, go there. But one of the things that we talked about early on, when I first met him, first encountered him, and first started leaning on him as a thought leader and a content creator, was my decision to share with you what was going on in my life. Because I'll tell you, and you've heard me tell that story, that it was a difficult process. And so he kind of helped me walk through the thought process on the benefits of that. And you've heard me, there's something that comes directly from my thoughts with him. And that is that your story, as flawed as it is, your story, as difficult as it has been, your story, as imperfect as it is the exact answer to somebody else's question. I want you to hear that. So we think that our stories are designed to kind of help us get better. And sometimes we think our stories are not designed for anything other than pain. But your story is the exact answer for somebody else's question. And so in the community, you hear me saying all the time, we educate, we empower, and we encourage. That encouragement part right there, that encouragement part comes from your story. That's the community. That's when other people see what's going on with you and understand what's happening in your space. And so one of the reasons that I share this is because I want you to see what it's like in the life of a person who is walking the path every single day. So this isn't, sitting in an ivory tower and having everything perfect. This is me every single day making a decision that I'm going to stick with the process. I'll say that again. So I have decided that the structure that I've put in place is the structure that I'm following. And so when I get up in the morning, that structure now becomes automatic. That's why we did the 100-day walk to consistency and health. That's why we do the 100-day strength strategy and mindset. That's why we do the fasting on the same days every week. That's why we do the check-ins like we do, because the structure is what takes me through the space. Now, I got into my conversation, but we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some other things. But let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugars. And so here is my Freestyle Libre, and right now my Freestyle Libre says that my blood sugar is 68. You'll see that right there. And for most of the day, if you kind of scroll down here, it has been hovering, below 100. Right? And you'll see the red part of that line, that squiggly line that you're looking at, the red part of that line is below 70. The white part is above 70. And you'll see, and we'll take a look at here in a minute as we walk through the Dexcom, what the numbers actually have been. So this evening when I posted that short or that reel, what I was doing was I was actually walking through some of the reports which we don't usually do on the Libre, but I wanted to do that because the new app gives us some pretty good information, and we'll see the same kinds of things in other places, but I like how it lays it out. And so here is my time in range. That is, how much time am I in the range? And we'll see down at the bottom, you see down here, the range is 70 to 180, and you see I'm in range 97% of the time. That is for the last 7 days. I can go back to 14 days, 88%, 30 days, 90%, and then 90 days, 91%. And then to see what my average glucose is, right? So 7 days, and this gives me it broken down into different hours, right? So from 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. And you'll see there that for most of the last 7 days, my blood sugar average for the day has been 80s to 90s. Let's go to 14 days. And you'll see that 80s, low 80s, upper 80s, here 90s, 80s to 90s, and for 90 days, we've been 80s to 90s as well. Okay? That is what's been going on. So let's go ahead now, and I'm going to switch over, and let's take a look at my Dexcom Clarity. And once again, blood sugar for today, right now at this moment, is 85. I'm going to go ahead and switch this to 24 hours and then go down to the graph. And so we can actually look at what the blood sugars have been. And so here we are, right? So about 24 hours ago, starting in the 90s into the hundreds, and we're looking at this graph right about here, right? Low 100s, 1 teens. Right, there we go. And so down here, this is what I call the toothpaste effect, right? So notice we were in the low 100s, and then right about 6-7 o'clock, we started going up. It looks like the highest that we went here on this day was 112. and then of course started coming back down. So I this week I'm trying something different with my toothpaste. I'll let you know what that is if it works. Okay, but right down there you'll see what those blood sugars are. Okay, all right, and now let's go ahead and let's go over to my monitor. So I've got a Dexcom. So that's okay. Let me go back over here for a minute, and I've got to fix my camera. So my automated camera just moved over to something I wasn't expecting that it would show. So let's try this. Let's go back over here. Okay, and hopefully it will stay. All right. So we're looking here, and so here is what I've got: my Keto Mojo, and I've got my Contour, and then of course right here is my Dexcom report. So let's go ahead and grab my container, and I need a brown for for blood sugar, and then I need a blue for ketones, and I need a strip here for my Contour. Boom, boom, boom. Let's pop that out, and then I also need some Lancet. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that, and let's get this one in. And then open up. So I've been fasting for 33 hours. So what do you think? What do you think my ketones are going to be? Go ahead and drop those in the comments. Let's go ahead and open this one up. So 33 hours of fasting. And boom, boom, boom. And then open up the ketone strip as well. And I'll keep that off to the side. So I've got that here, and I'll just keep it off to the side for now. Go ahead and get a Lancet, and just find the finger. And as you know, if you've been following, I don't usually use the Lancing device. Of course, now here we go. I lost one drop, so let's see if we can keep this going. All right, so that's one drop there. I'm gonna milk it a little bit more to get a second drop to start the Contour. And because I did it, so 77 is what the Keto Mojo says, and I'm going to try to get a drop out here and get this out quickly, because if not, it will dry. And then I'll have to stick myself again, which you guys know I do not want to do. All right, there we are. So 70 is what the Contour said. Let's go here. And there we go. So 0.9 is what my ketones are at this point. 0.9. So let's walk through that a little bit. And while I do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my Keto Mojo app and go ahead and try to get that synced. So when we talk about ketones that are, and let me go here while we talk. So for some reason it's not wanting to cooperate. But ketones that are less than 0.5 considered normal, 0.5 to 1.5 considered nutritional ketosis, and then above 1.5 considered therapeutic ketosis. So when I'm fasting, when you're doing a ketogenic diet, when you're doing a fasting mimicking diet, when you're fasting with the intention of getting into ketosis, we want ketones at 0.5 or higher. All right, so anywhere from the 0.5 or up is considered in ketosis. Things that are below that, not ketosis. And so when I'm fasting, you will see me talking about being in that 0.5 or higher. There are people in our community who are doing essentially a ketogenic diet. And so one of our, and let me see, I think I see Steve out there. But if you hear when Steve posts his numbers, his ketones are usually in 2, 1 point something or higher because of the way he's eating during the non-fasting times. You will see me, right? I'll be 0.5 or higher, but when I'm eating, I don't do a ketogenic type diet. I do a low carb, but not to the point of being in ketosis. So that's what you're seeing there. And this thing is syncing. We'll see if it comes up here in a minute because I wanted to show you the graphs. Until then, let's go ahead and let's hop over to my Dexcom Clarity report, which is what you see there on the screen. And just like we saw on the app itself, for 14 days, my average blood sugar is 110. My glucose management indicator is 5.9. So if I were to get A1C based on my current blood sugars, I would expect it to approximate a 5.9. I'm in target 100% of the time for the last 14 days, with the target being 70 to 180. If I change to 90 days, let's go ahead and get that. Oops. Get rid of that. Yes, if I change that to 90 days, and that's loading, so 90 days, my average is 117. I usually tell patients and clients I want their average blood sugar to be between 100 and 120. Here is my glucose management indicator for the last 90 days, in target 99% of the time, and target still being between 70 to 180. Okay, so you'll see all that right there. All right, if I go and look at the actual numbers, right, and this one is very instructive because I want you to see what's been going on since we started fasting, into the fast, and even now. So here we are at 84, my blood sugar right now, and we are right now 33-ish hours into the fast. So blood sugar of 84, and if I scroll back, you'll see that most of the day we've been in the 80s or 90s. Earlier in the day, probably in the low 100s. And right here, we were at 24 hours. This is when we did our check-in earlier today. 24 hours, blood sugar was 97. Going back in earlier in the day, we were in the low 100s for that entire time. Going back to last night, right? Going back to last night, in the 90s, and into yesterday afternoon, we went up to 116. So let's go back here. This was time 0, right? So this is where we started eating, or we ended eating yesterday. Had our last meal. Go back and watch that show so you can see what I ate. And then from that point now, going forward, let's take a look at what happened to blood sugars. So we were at 117, ate our last meal, and then blood sugar is 117, 110, 109, 118. I think 118 was maybe the highest that we got up right there. 118, 118, 111. Okay, it was 119. And then started coming down into the low 90s, dipped down into the 80s at some point there. And then here we are into today and up to where we are right now. So when we're fasting, we want those numbers to remain relatively stable. We don't want a whole lot of spiking and changing, okay? So when you're fasting, that's the idea, that the thing that you eat, and we'll make a bigger point of this when we do our complete check-in on Friday. The point is, when we're fasting, what we come into the fast with, the types of foods that we eat, have a direct influence on what goes on in the fast, what the blood sugars do, what your cravings are, and all of that. Okay. So my Keto Mojo app did sync. So let's go ahead and go over there. And so here you see. So here's the glucose. This is GKI, glucoketo index. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then down below, you'll see the blue is the ketone, and then the brown is the glucose. And so let's start with the big number. The glucoketo index is a calculated number. It is the ratio of the glucose to the ketones. Now, if you're dividing that, right, 77 by 0.9, you'll say, well, that's not 4.7. But what you have to do first is you have to convert the glucose into international numbers. And so let me go ahead and pull up my calculator. All right, so here's my calculator, and the blood sugar was 77, I believe, right? Divided by 18, that gives us, and this number right here is if you're out of the country, out of the US, and you're using a meter, this is the number. If you check your blood sugar with your meter, this is the number you will get. right? So sometimes I'm talking to people and they say, oh, my blood sugar was 5. Well, I know that if their blood sugar is 5, I have to multiply that by 18 to get what we term as blood sugar here. So anyway, so 4.2 is what we got. And then my ketones, was it 0.8 divided by was it 0.8 or 0.9? I can't remember. Well, let's do 0.9. And well, let me go back. Yeah, 0.9. All right, so let's go back here, and we're going to do 77 divided by 18 gives me this number divided by 0.9, and that gives me the 4.7, which is that number that we have right there in the middle. You see that? Okay, so that's how we got that number. Okay, now let's take a look at the graph. And let's go back this way and here. And so, so when we checked last week, let me make sure we got the right one. Yeah. So when we checked last week, the last time we checked, my blood sugar was 102 with ketones of 0.3. And you'll see as the blood sugar went down from 102 down to 77, my ketones then went from low, which is 0.3, up to 0.9. So it's getting higher. So the lower the blood sugar, the higher the ketones. And the reason that happens is when the blood sugars are high, my body produces insulin, and the insulin gets rid of ketones. So insulin will not let ketones survive at high levels for long. And so when we're talking about getting into ketosis, one of the very first things that has to happen in the body is that the body has to transition from having all that insulin into lower blood sugar so that the insulin goes away. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's say hello to some of our community members. And I see some of you out there. Let's go ahead and hop over and just say hello. And let's see. I see. Let's go back up. I think Gian was the first one that showed up. So she says, hi, Doctor and LLG. So Gian, thank you for coming through and hanging out with us. And then Cornelia says, hi, Dr. Gian and LLG. Gian says, hi, Sister Cornelia. Hi, sis, back from Cornelia. Bowie, she said, hi, everybody. Glad that you're here, Bowie. Cornelia saying hi, and everybody just saying hi to each other. Bowie saying back to Cornelia. Hi, Bowie. Hi, Gian. Gian said, thank you, Doctor, making so many playlists for us. Yeah, so we want to make sure that the process is as simple as possible for you. Anyone's stomach growling or just me? If you saw our show earlier today, you heard me say that when my team got up to go to lunch earlier, my brain said, oh, let's go eat. And I had to I was like, wait a minute, no, I'm fasting. So I hear you, Bowie. I hear you. It's not growling, but yeah. Gian says, same here. Gian says, so hungry right now. I have been fasting 23 hours. After live, I will eat. Okay, so awesome for you. Very good, very good. Congratulations, by the way. We'll give you a hand clap. And Cornelia says, I can definitely eat, Bowie. And Cornelia, once again, congratulations. For those of you who were not on the live today, Cornelia completed a 96-hour fast last week as she tries to push her metabolism to get better. Right, so good job. Bowie says, good job, Gian. What will you eat? Gian said, thank you all. Yeah. So drop in the comments, what are you going to eat? And Jennifer, what's up, Jennifer? Jennifer said, howdy all. And Jennifer's always sharing with us the things that she's getting out of her garden. Thank you for doing that, Jennifer. I haven't responded to your post yet, but I will. Bowie says, hi, Jennifer. Gian says, pork ribs, which I made yesterday. For today. Okay. And so she's planning ahead. Okay. So always a good idea when you are getting ready to get out of the fast. Don't just let it be something random. You plan it. When I say random, not just something that you just grab. You should have a default meal. You should have a meal that you're planning so that you know what you're going to eat. But if you can't get to that, what is your default meal? Right. So that's an idea I want to make sure that you're keeping in track. And then Cornelia says, hi, Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Pork ribs sound delicious. I steamed it with some salt. That is so simple. Boy says, I've frozen so much soup to eat. Okay, frozen soup to eat tomorrow. Panera style broccoli cheddar. I love it, love it. Great boy, sounds delicious. Hello all from Steve. What up, Steve? So Steve, we were just talking about you, guy. And boy says, hi, Steve. Jennifer. Cornelia saying hello. And just, so boy says she thought my ketones were going to be 1.3, but Cornelia says 0.9, and you got it right under the head, Cornelia. Okay, great job, Cornelia. All right, all right. So let's go ahead and let's hop into our discussion. Actually, before I do that, let me do one thing. Let me do a quick check-in, and then we'll come back, and I have to remember where I am with the comments. Okay, so let's do a quick check-in, and so let's talk a little bit about that. I'll do that briefly because I do want you to get a sense of what is going on with me. So let's get back there. All right, so when I do a check-in, there are three areas that I want to talk about. So how am I doing physically, mentally, and emotionally? These are three of the pillars, right? So three of the domains of health. And these are the places where people tend to have their most difficulty, because this is where life happens, right? Physically, mentally, and emotionally. And so here I am 33 hours into this week's fast. I'm feeling pretty good. Now, we are right now in an interesting experience so our air conditioner is out. Okay. So by the way, if whenever it's hot in my studio, the camera doesn't respond so well to heat. And so if something happens, we may switch to one of the other cameras, like this one back here, right? So yeah, right there. But anyway, so right now we're in a hot house, and the part that they need has to be ordered, is what they're telling us. Another story. So physically I'm feeling good, but I'm hot. And last night was a kind of a little restless. We got a portable unit that we brought in, and anyway, so we're doing some things here in the house. But in terms of how I'm feeling, other than that, I'm feeling energetic. I've been resting. We came back at the beginning of the week from our trip to St. Louis, and yesterday I came home, and this tells you how warm it is. So I came home yesterday. And my son and I were supposed to go outside and do our workout for the day. And I laid down. I got a recliner right outside by the sunroom. And I laid down. I said, "Hey, man, we're gonna go out in a minute." He said, "Okay." He's gonna go put on his clothes so we can go out. And I sat down about 6:30 last night, and I did not wake up again until 4 o'clock this morning. Right, so I was just out. So I'm well rested. I'm not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I'm doing a good job of hydrating, right, which is a big point that you want to make sure. So right now, feeling pretty good. And because of that, mentally, I'm also feeling good. I'm clear. My thought processes don't feel like I'm grasping for words. Don't feel like I'm foggy-headed. Don't feel like I'm walking through a bubble. All of those things that we talk about when we sometimes talk about fasting. A lot of it has to do with our rest and also with our hydration. And then emotionally, I'm very excited. The trip that we took, it was great because we saw, this was, and I think you heard me say that they estimate that there were 100,000 people that came through that space over the week. And so I saw people that I had not seen in a long time, was able to introduce my son to people that I'd gone to college with, people that we've known for years, got him, and he saw, some friends. And so he took off and they were off doing their things. So it was really a fun time for us. We got to, go to the Arch and go to the Arch Museum, and just had a good time being with the family, being away for a little while, and then coming back. And on the heels of that, kind of understanding. And while I was away, by the way, if you've been following us, Strength, Strategy, and Mindset, did go through and worked on the strength strategy and mindset. So the strength training that we're doing, if you saw those episodes, I was in the hotel at the workout room. And so using what we've been talking about, using our 5-minute circuit, right, which we can do at any time, at any place, right? So it's instilled in us now. So it's a part of what we do. This is who we are. This is not something we do separate. So it's instilled in us. So I was doing that there. And because I was doing that, I kept up the process. And that's the whole idea. So I was excited to show off that concept over the course of the time we were gone, so that people understand that things change and schedules change, but the structure does not mean that we have to abandon. Okay, that's so sameness, doing the same thing all the time is not what consistency is. Consistency says I'm showing up in the space to do the thing I'm planning to do. Now, when I get there, what it looks like may be different. So in this case, I showed up to do my exercises. It was in a different space, different location. So what I did looked differently, but I showed up anyway. And that is consistency. Okay? All right. And so let's go ahead and let's get into our discussion for this evening, because I've got got an interesting idea that I want to share with you that we've talked about before, but it gives us a little different spin on it. So let's go ahead and let's do that right now. All right, so tonight we are diving into one of the most powerful benefits of fasting, but one that doesn't always get the spotlight. And that is that fasting lowers the need for insulin. And that might be the single biggest metabolic gift that it gives your body. Let me say that again. Fasting lowers insulin. It lowers the need for insulin. It lowers the need for your body to produce that much insulin. And of all the things metabolically that fasting does, it is probably the single biggest metabolic issue or metabolic benefit that comes from fasting. So whether your body's making the insulin, or whether you take insulin, or whether you take medication that makes your body produce insulin, like the secretagogues, right? Glipizide, glimepiride, the DPP-4s, all of those, and even the GLP ones, right, which everybody's talking about right now, you'll want to stick with this conversation, because we're going to talk a little bit about how fasting gives your pancreas, the cells in your body that produce insulin, it gives them the ability to manage what you are throwing at it. And your future self will take a big deep breath. And if my future self can come back and talk to me, I think my future self would say to me, "Hey, Dwayne, I need you to fast. I need you to fast." Okay? So let me take you into the science for a moment. So every time you eat, especially carbs or processed foods, your blood sugar goes up. Blood sugar goes up. And in response to the blood sugar rising, your body does something amazing. And it is amazing in its ability to remain in homeostasis. It secretes insulin to bring those blood sugars back down. That is what everybody knows about insulin. That is what we expect insulin to do. So insulin is not a bad hormone. I'm pausing there. Because when we talk about insulin, we couch it in such a negative light that people, whenever they hear insulin, they get afraid or they get wigged out. So insulin is not a bad hormone. Your body produces insulin. Insulin does a great job in your body. In fact, for many of us, the reason that we don't show up with diabetes earlier is because the body is producing insulin for what we're eating. Okay? Now, here's the hitch. For most people with metabolic dysfunction, the insulin response is happening way too often and in much higher doses than necessary. It's estimated that the average person who's non-diabetic, who's not pre-diabetic, who has a normal metabolic system produces between 25 to 30 units of insulin per day. That's what you need. For the food that you eat, if you're eating a normal, regular diet, let's say regular, a normal diet for the body, not normal like is in what the society eats. If you're eating a normal diet, your body produces about 25 to 30 units of insulin per day. And that's what it needs. This is what we call, when it goes above that, we call it hyperinsulinemia. So meaning too much insulin. That's what it's called. And the insulin is circulating, and the more insulin that circulates, the more damage it causes downstream. So insulin isn't just about lowering blood sugars. Remember, insulin also sends signals to the body. It sends the signal, don't burn fat, store energy, hold on to weight, make me have cravings, disrupt my regulatory hormones that help with my satiety and my hunger, put stuff into storage and transmit it through the blood, make my vessels less compliant, so my blood pressure goes up. So all of these are things that are coming because of the signal, the non-sugar signal that insulin gives. So what happens when you are constantly eating or eating foods that spike your sugar? Then your pancreas, and we're now talking about people who are, and let's take someone who's not a diabetic. Let's go even before we get to diabetes. This is for a normal person that's hanging out there who's not diabetic, or even your doctor has told you that your numbers are good, or maybe you're pre-diabetic. This is what's going on. And definitely for the diabetics, this is what's happening. Your pancreas is working to bring those blood sugars down. For example, and let me pull up for you a prime example of blood sugars, and let's give you some good numbers. So if we look at my monitor, and right now my blood sugar is 70, and you see the graph down here that shows that my blood sugar was hovering in the low 100s, or actually below 100, and at some point it even went below 70. Now let's assume that you are a normal, non-diabetic, non-pre-diabetic person, and you go out and you eat, let's pick something, you eat a bowl of pasta. And you say, well, I'm not diabetic. So I eat the pasta and my blood sugar stays normal. I don't see a rise, I don't see a spike, I don't see anything going on with the blood sugar, it stays normal. And I'm going along and I'm constantly, if I have a monitor, I'm checking the monitor and my blood sugars stay normal. So I've got no problem, right? Well, here's the question. If my blood sugar is staying normal with the load of pasta that I'm eating, how much insulin does my body have to produce to keep my blood sugar normal? Now, the body's doing what it's supposed to do. It is regulating blood sugars. But how much insulin do I have to produce? And if I keep eating the volume, the size of carbohydrates and sugary things, and I keep getting normal blood sugars, normal is great. But how is the body doing that? Well, the body's doing that by producing insulin. And the more insulin it produces, the more that insulin causes problems elsewhere. It's doing a great job for blood sugar. Not a problem. It's keeping my blood sugar in the range. In fact, sometimes my blood sugar may even be lower than normal. But what else is going on? So your pancreas is working overtime. Your insulin levels stay high, and eventually you have the problem where your cells start to resist it. And this is the whole idea of insulin resistance. We won't get into that idea right now. But basically what begins happening is the insulin no longer works well. And so the body keeps producing more and more and more and more and more. And the hyperinsulin, the more it produces, the more we have problems downstream. And for those who are on insulin therapy, every unit that you inject adds to the total amount of insulin that's in your body. It helps you control sugar, but the system stays in overload. So the goal isn't just, come on, I want you to listen to this. The goal isn't just good blood sugars. I want you to hear that. The goal isn't just good blood sugars. So when the doctor says, when you come to my office and I say to you, oh, your blood sugars are normal. Oh, your A1C is normal. That's a part of the answer, or that part of the issue that we're dealing with. Yeah, that's great. But how did we get there? So the goal is not just reducing sugar, it's also reducing the insulin required to maintain that control. Get that? So enter fasting. You guys knew that was coming, right? So when you fast, you do two powerful things. You stop stimulating the insulin production because you're not eating. So you're not putting anything in that requires your body to make insulin or that requires you to take insulin from outside. That's number one. And you give your body the chance to use the insulin that it's already used or already made that's circulating. You gives the body a chance to use it up. So not only are you not putting anything in that requires more insulin to be made, but you're saying to the body, okay, I'm not giving you anything more. So the stuff that you already created, use that right now. It's kind of like being at your house and you are cooking and you're cooking for a bunch of people and you're looking out and, say you're doing something for the community. People keep coming in, you hand them a plate. Coming in, hand them a plate. Coming in, hand them a plate. Now you've cooked a bunch of food and the food is there and somebody comes to you and says, hey, could you cook some more? And you say to yourself, wait, why do you want me to cook more? They say, well, we don't know if anybody else is coming. And you look around, you say, well, I've got enough food for 100 people more. Why don't you use up what's there? And when you need more, I'll make some more. Essentially, that's what we're saying to the pancreas. Hey, you've already created some insulin. It's there. We don't know how much we're going to need, but I'm not making any more until we use up what we've done. And when we do that, what we're doing is we're decreasing the amount of insulin that's there. So here's what happens during a fast, like the one that we're on right now, 33 hours, your insulin levels drop. How do I know the insulin level is dropping? Because when I look at my blood sugar, you see that red line right there? Yeah, that red line means that the blood sugar went below 70. And when the blood sugar goes below 70, the body begins shutting down insulin. Because hypoglycemia, if my blood sugars are low, there's no reason to create more insulin. And if I look at the graph, you see that the graph is below 100. So if my blood sugar is running below 100 for most of the day, the amount of insulin that my body has to make is very, very low. And when it goes below 70, it gets even lower. So your body stops or decreases the amount of insulin that's there. Your body starts to pull energy from fat stores. Oh my goodness. Come on. That is one of the benefits that we see. And you have seen, you have heard, you've seen the story, right? So when our blood sugars are, or when our insulin goes down, when our blood sugar goes down, the body has to get energy from somewhere. And the place where it gets energy from is from the fat stores. Now, it doesn't get to the fat stores until your blood sugar goes down low enough that it turns the insulin down. Because remember, insulin is that hormone that blunts or stops or inhibits the ability to go burn fat. So you decrease the insulin that's in your body. You say to your body, hey, go get some fat stores. You improve your cell's sensitivity to insulin, because the amount of sugar that's circulating around is lower now. So the body says, oh, okay, I'm going to respond in a positive way when I see sugar. One of the most interesting things that I see is I'll have people come in and their blood sugars are high. I mean, 200, 300, 400. As a matter of fact, today we had somebody who has a blood sugar of like 500. So we come in, their blood sugar is high. And they'll say to me, well, I didn't eat anything at all today, and my blood sugar is still 500. Well, as you know, in our community, that not eating anything for all day, and usually all day for people is like 8 to 12 hours. That really doesn't do much, because it takes at least 24 to 36 hours for the glycogen from your liver to go away. So the fact that you didn't eat for 12 hours, if your blood sugars are starting that high, think about what has to happen in your body, how much insulin the body has to produce to bring that blood sugar down to a normal range before it gets to burning fat. Yeah? So you get all those things that are happening when you're fasting, and most importantly, you lower the total amount of insulin, the insulin load. You lower the amount of insulin that the body requires to function. And that is the place we want to be. Research shows that fasting, even just short term, reduces fasting insulin levels. It lowers the amount of insulin needed to control glucose. It improves your insulin sensitivity, and it breaks the cycle of constant insulin resistance. This is metabolic healing. You're not just skipping meals, you're freeing the system. Think of it like this. Insulin is a delivery truck. Your body doesn't need more trucks, it needs less traffic and clearer roads. I want you to get that. So insulin is the thing that is supposed to work, right? It's helping get the blood sugar down. I don't need more trucks. I don't need more insulin. What I need to do is I need to clear the roads, and I need to get less traffic so that the trucks can work. And that's what fasting does. Fasting allows the body to be able to use what it has efficiently. Now, let's connect all this to Limitless Living and the Limitless Living Accelerator. Inside the accelerator, we help to build a system for everything that we just talked about. You don't just fast, you learn how to fast intentionally. You don't just reduce sugar, you design meals that lower insulin demands. You don't just exercise, you train in a way that enhances insulin sensitivity. That's the power of structure. That's the purpose of the accelerator. If you've ever said, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it, how to make it stick, the problem is the how, and the program is the how. So your challenge is not to get more information. Your challenge is not to watch another video. Your challenge is not to fight the food. Your challenge is to get into the engine and see, how do I make this thing function more efficiently? And fasting is a fascinating way to do that. And as we've introduced the accelerator, it is the container that takes all of the things that you are learning and it puts it all together as we talk through the process, as you get personal attention on how to make this happen. How do I install this into my life? How do we make that happen? How do I set myself up for the best possibility of success? And that's what Limitless Living says, that I'm not letting anything prevent me from doing that. I'm not letting anything from outside or anything from inside prevent me from doing that. I'm showing up with my best self, my best health, my best plans, and I'm going to be successful. I'm breaking through boundaries. I'm breaking through obstacles. I'm pushing through those things that seem to try to constrain me, and I'm going to be good. I'm going to be where I need to be. I'm going to make it because I am making myself accountable. And I'm putting a structure in place so that I can do what I need to do to be successful. We'll talk more about that. Hang on as we discuss more about how we can be healthy. So as we continue our fast for this week, right? So we're at 33 hours right now. 33 hours. If you've been dabbling around, if you've been thinking about fasting, if you've been trying to get more information about fasting, we have a community that is working together. We are fasting together. The check-ins that we do are perfect time for that. So we check in on Tuesday afternoon after my meeting at work. We start at that point and we do a 24-hour, then we do another 24-hour, then we do another 24 hours. So I'm doing a 72-hour. But at any point in that, you can jump in and that can be your 24-hour period, because that's our first challenge in terms of fasting, to work your way up so you can fast for a 24-hour period. If you are working to get to a 24-hour period, begin where you are. If you normally take 7 hours where you don't eat, now make it 6 hours where you don't eat. Sorry, make it 8 hours where you don't eat. And then 9 hours, and then 10 hours, and then 12 hours. Most of us, when we go to sleep at night, we've finished eating, and say you finish eating at 6 o'clock. And most of us, you go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock, and we don't eat again until 8 o'clock the next morning. So if that's the case, then if you finish eating at 6 and you go to bed and you wake up the next morning, you eat, say you eat at 6 o'clock, so that's 12 hours. So instead of eating at 12, now eat at 7. When you're good at that, then start eating at 8. When you got good at that, maybe eat at 9 or maybe 10. And all of a sudden, what you've done is you've gone from a 12-hour period, you've gone to a 16-hour period. And we continue expanding that until we get to the point where we're doing a 24-hour period. All right, so if you finish your fast, if you started your fast yesterday, you finished it today, congratulations to you. If you started today and you're going to end your 24-hour tomorrow, come on the show. We'll be there, and kudos to you. If you're thinking, if you're preparing, tomorrow is a perfect time to begin that process as we move into the last leg of that. So we'll be doing our check-in tomorrow afternoon, right about noon to 1 o'clock. We'll do our check-in tomorrow night. On Friday, of course, we'll have our complete review of fasting, how to start the fast, how to get into it, how to prepare for it, what goes on in your body through the fast, and then, of course, how to break the fast. And you get to see what I'm going to eat as my first meal. If you have a recommendation, if you have a suggestion, go ahead and drop that in the comments, drop that in the chat, because we'd love to we'd love to work with you as we move through that process. The accelerator, I know you guys are waiting for that, is going to show up on the website. It's going to show up on the website, Dwain Woode MD. Go ahead and bookmark that website. That is our website, and that accelerator program will show up there, and you get a chance to sign up for that. Once again, as you're walking through the process, right, I want this process to be so simple for you. And we've redesigned the channel itself, right? So we've gone in and we've changed it, right? So we've done, YouTube tells me that I've done over 2,000 videos We've uploaded over 2,000 videos on the channel. So when you get to the channel, there's a lot of information there. But I said, okay, I don't want you to have to wade through that information. So we've streamlined it. Start here. That's where you start. And if you want to know what's going on this week, there's the videos for this week in the second playlist, right? Those are the places that you want to go to. Now, within those videos, we'll make reference to other things that you may be interested in. There are other videos that we've done, other pieces of information about fasting, other pieces of information about food and how to prepare food, balanced bites and our heat model. What are the pillars for the domains of health? What are the triggers for eating? All that information is still there, and you will hear me reference them, and then you can go back to the channel and search through and find those. But the first thing, as you're walking through, if you're coming, how do I get started? That's it right there. Start right here. All right, so that's the beauty of it. So let's go ahead and let's say hello. I see some of our community members, and let's see. I've got to remember where I stopped. Let's go here, and so we were getting some guesses. 0.7. Bowie says Cornelia wins. Great job, Cornelia. I picked 0.9 because I'm 33 into, and mine was 0.9. Look at that, Cornelia. Come on now. Bowie says Cornelia does her homework. Cornelia, smile. Great, sis. Cornelia says thank you. Gian says you are welcome. Jennifer says garden bounty today. Butter crunch, lettuce, cucumbers, and tomatoes. We had salad with supper. Okay, awesome. Steve says, Jennifer, I had tomatoes and cucumbers out of the garden today with steak tips. Oh, I need to go hang out with Steve a little bit. That's awesome, Jennifer. I can never get lettuce to grow in my garden. That's from Bowie. Jennifer said, oh, steak tips. Sounds great. Gardens are the best. I feel so much more connected to my food. Appreciate it more. Okay. Steve said, I love my garden because I know how it's grown. That's a great thought, Steve. I love that. Jennifer said, yes, I grow organic. Bowie said, we've been putting ice packs in pillowcases to keep cool. Been a hot summer. Yeah, it's been a hot summer. So we are hopefully we'll get this fixed here soon. And Gion says, thank you. All right. So everybody, remember our Triple E formula for success says that we educate, we empower, and we encourage. We educate with the shows. We educate with the podcast and the blogs, right? So you'll see those coming back. For those of you who've been following us, we've been on a little break for the podcast, not for the podcast, but for the blogs. But those will come back. So make sure you get to the website. All of that will begin showing up there again. And we empower with the tools that we're working on, the tools that we're learning, the health action plan, the accelerator that we were just talking about. So all of these are tools. These are packages that we're putting together that help you in the direction of being successful. So if you're ready to say, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not doing like we've been doing, I'm not going down that path, join us here on the show. There's a button down there somewhere that says join. Become a part of this community, join with us, share your story, and by all means, keep an eye out for that accelerator link that will show up on the website, and you can sign up for that program. Okay? So we educate, we empower, we encourage, right? The community is very important. And I love this. When I see what's going on, see you guys talking, see you guys interacting, this is an amazing process that we go through as we move down the metabolic space. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. As we move through the rest of the week, we'll do our check-in tomorrow, as I said, on tomorrow evening at 9 o'clock. We'll be back here in this space. On Friday, we'll do our complete review of fasting, how to prepare for the fast, how to get through the fast, and how to break the fast. You get to see what I eat as my very first meal as we move into the end of our fasting. On Saturday night, we'll be here, video from the vault. And then on Sunday again, we'll be back with This Week in Review. And then, of course, Monday, back in the saddle for Dwain Woode MD Live. I'm always glad when I'm with you. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for hanging out with us. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. Oh, wait. Let me do one thing. Let me say, for those of you who are joining us from whatever platform, whether you are on LinkedIn, whether you're on Twitch, whether you're on YouTube, of course here, whether you're on Facebook, thank you for coming through. If you've joined us because you saw our content at your church, someone sent you a link, or you've seen it in a community center somewhere, I welcome you as well. Quick shout out to the folks from Atlanta, Atlanta Berean. Quick shout out to the folks from Riverside in Nashville. Quick shout out to the folks in Yazoo, Mississippi. Quick shout out to Birmingham. And of course, all of you, wherever you are joining us from, thank you for coming through. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Woode with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here we educate, we empower, and we encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, go to the next level. We're creating the life we've always wanted, and we are living a limitless life, which says that we're not allowing anything from outside or anything from inside to prevent us from doing what we need to do. We're showing up with our best selves, our best health, and our best plans. Now go live a limitless life, and we'll see you as we do our check-in for the rest of the week, and we'll see you in the community. Good night, everybody.